Hi guys, so I want to talk about people versus systems. So I feel like we've gone full circle a little bit in many ways. So, back in the day, probably pre-business E-Myth, a lot of or pre-McDonald's in many ways, a lot of businesses were people reliant. So they didn't really have systems, they didn't have consistency, there was no kind of leverage from relying on systems instead of relying on experts to kind of use their experience every time. So when McDonald's come along, their system, they called it the Speedy Kitchen. Actually, if you haven't watched The Founder, about Ray Kroc with Michael Keaton, I'd watch it. One of the best films I've ever watched in my life, along with Pursuit of Happiness, if you want to be inspired as a business owner. But absolutely amazing what they did in terms of consistency, and they built the franchise model. So the business E-Myth basically put a spotlight on what McDonald's were doing and made every small business realise there's a better way to run your business. You don't need to rely on experts and have a world-class team. You need a world-class system. I completely agree with that, but I feel it's kind of been lost. In my experience, things are not black and white. Grey is, grey is a real thing. And normally there's two sides to the debate. There's two sides to the argument. And I think if you look at sport, for example, stay with me if you're not interested in sport, but hopefully it makes sense. So Man United built the whole team around the manager, Alex Ferguson, and basically he was irreplaceable. So when he left, in the next 10 years, they tried everything they can to replace Alex Ferguson. They've kind of, you could argue they've not had the right systems because they didn't have a clear process in terms of what they wanted. But the short of it is, it took them 10 years to get the right person to replace Alex Ferguson. And that's Erik ten Hag. And he also has a system in place. So it's the right person with the right system. So the point of my video is people matter and systems matter as well. But don't underplay the importance that people have on your organisation. So an amazing book I read in 2022, 100% recommend. I'm hearing more people talk about it now. It's Who, Not How by Benjamin Hardy and Dan Sullivan. And sometimes how do I, as the business owner, create the perfect system? How do I learn all these things? How do I do this? It creates overwhelm. And that's why in my industry, a lot of accountants get a bit of paralysis by analysis. They don't actually end up taking much action because they're overwhelmed. But actually, if you can hire the right who, it's a game changer. It completely changes everything. If you think about yourself and your business, most business owners are virtually irreplaceable. I mean, what I preach with the Entrepreneurial Freedom System is to build a business where that's not the case. But I just want to stress the importance of the individual, the importance of the person. So when you start thinking who, not how, it means the people in your team do matter. So, it does depend what you do. If you're McDonald's, which everyone compares this philosophy to, you're flipping burgers. If you're flipping burgers, maybe it's a bit easier and it doesn't really matter who that person is. But actually, if you're an accountant and you're a service-based business and you're speaking to humans and you're giving advice and you're an expert, it's a very different beast. And I think actually with the birth of AI or the progress of AI, automation technology, the human element is more important than ever. We need the systems, we need the AI, we need the automation, we need the tech, we need to leverage the systems 100%, but the people do matter. So this is just me thinking aloud, almost like my own journal. It's basically the argument of people versus systems. For me, it's not people versus systems, it's people and systems. And you've got to find that balance right for your business. But in some cases, the right person, the right who, not the right how, can absolutely transform your business, as it has with Manchester United. Cheers, guys.